Good evening, welcome. As dusk settles, we embark on a shared journey into the profound wisdom of effortless action. Tonight, our focus turns to Wu Wei, an ancient principle offering a gentle pathway to inner calm amidst the currents of modern existence. Before we settle completely, if you feel moved to share, consider letting us know from which corner of the world you are listening and what time the evening has brought to your specific location. From what part of this vast globe do you breathe with us? This tranquil space is intentionally crafted for your inner cultivation, designed to nourish the mind and gently awaken the spirit. Within these moments, you are invited to simply exist, to breathe, and to allow these words to softly guide you inward, revealing the deep wisdom already residing within your being. Should these reflections resonate with a quiet part of you, we invite you to return whenever you seek this profound, silent encounter. Consider subscribing to keep this sanctuary of peace readily accessible. Now, take a deep, grounding breath and simply be present with all that arises. As we settle into this stillness, we prepare to gently unravel the very essence of Wu Wei itself, understanding its profound invitation to a life lived with greater ease and less resistance. The essence of Wu Wei. Let us begin our exploration by gently approaching the core concept of Wu Wei, a principle that whispers of profound liberation from the relentless striving that often characterizes our modern existence, particularly in our fast-paced daily routines. At its heart, Wu Wei translates not as mere inaction, but as a dynamic state of effortless action, a way of being where our deeds emerge from a deep alignment with the natural flow of life itself. It is an invitation to release the constant tension of forcing outcomes and instead to cultivate a more subtle, responsive engagement with the world around us, allowing for a profound sense of inner freedom to permeate our every gesture and thought. This isn't about idleness or apathy, but about a more intelligent, less forceful way of moving through our days, discovering an inherent grace in our activities that paradoxically achieves more with less overt effort, fostering a deeper sense of contentment and peace as we navigate our responsibilities. This concept of effortless action, or non-striving, proposes a radical shift from the common belief that more effort always equates to better results. Instead, Wu Wei suggests that true effectiveness often arises when we attune ourselves to the underlying rhythms and patterns of our environment, much like a skilled sailor who works with the wind and current rather than fighting against them. It's about recognizing that there is an inherent wisdom in the unfolding of events, a natural order to which we can surrender our rigid control. This surrender does not imply passivity, but rather a sophisticated form of active observation and a willingness to adapt, allowing our actions to become extensions of the world's own momentum, rather than arduous struggles against it. This creates a more harmonious and sustainable way of interacting with all aspects of our existence, from personal projects to interpersonal relationships. Consider the feeling of non-striving as a deep relaxation within the very act of doing. Imagine a dancer moving with such fluidity that their every step seems to arise spontaneously, without conscious premeditation or visible exertion. This is the essence of Wu Wei in motion, a state where the mind is clear, unburdened by excessive planning or anxious anticipation, and the body follows with an intuitive grace. It is about trusting the innate intelligence of the moment, allowing insights and appropriate responses to emerge organically, rather than being forced through sheer willpower. This allows for a deeper presence in each moment, transforming tasks from burdens into opportunities for mindful engagement. fostering a sense of spaciousness even within demanding situations, and cultivating a profound inner peace. The natural flow to which Wu Wei invites us is not a chaotic, uncontrolled current, but rather the underlying order, the Tao, that governs all phenomena. It is the way water finds its path around obstacles, not by brute force, but by yielding and adapting, eventually reaching its destination. Our actions, when guided by Wu Wei, mirror this inherent wisdom. We learn to discern the opportune moment for intervention, the precise amount of energy required, and when it is best to simply observe and allow. This discerning awareness, a form of equanimous observation, becomes our compass, guiding us away from unnecessary friction and towards a more efficient and fulfilling expenditure of our vital energy, leading to greater well-being. This profound alignment with the natural flow is deeply intertwined with the Buddhist concept of Dharma, which speaks to the universal laws and truths that govern existence. While Wu Wei originates in Taoism, its spirit of non-striving and harmonious action resonates powerfully with Buddhist teachings on right effort and the cultivation of a Buddha mind, a state of profound clarity and compassion. Both traditions encourage us to move beyond superficial desires and attachments, recognizing that our original nature is inherently free and unburdened. When we release the grip of craving, our actions naturally become more skillful, less self-centered, and more attuned to the greater good, fostering a sense of interconnectedness and deep inner peace that transcends fleeting circumstances. Wu Wei, therefore, offers a powerful antidote to the pervasive sense of burnout and exhaustion that many experience in modern life. By consciously choosing to act without forcing, we conserve our precious energy, channeling it into what truly matters, rather than dissipating it through resistance and unnecessary struggle. It encourages us to cultivate a mind of beginner's mind, shoshin, approaching each situation with openness and curiosity, free from preconceived notions and rigid expectations. This fresh perspective allows us to see new possibilities and respond with greater flexibility, transforming what might otherwise be perceived as obstacles into opportunities for growth and deeper understanding, fostering an inner freedom that is both liberating and deeply grounding. The practice of Wu Wei involves a subtle yet profound shift in our relationship with time and productivity. Instead of constantly pushing against deadlines or rushing through tasks, we learn to trust in the appropriate timing, allowing our actions to unfold with a natural rhythm. This means cultivating patience and a willingness to pause, to take sacred pauses, observing the unfolding situation before leaping into action. This mindful approach allows for greater presence in each moment, transforming even mundane activities into opportunities for conscious engagement. It's about doing what needs to be done, but without the internal narrative of urgency or the external pressure of constant acceleration, creating a profound sense of sufficiency. Embracing Wu Wei also means a radical acceptance of what is, rather than a constant battle against reality. When we release our need to control every variable, we open ourselves to the inherent wisdom of circumstances, allowing solutions to emerge that we might not have anticipated. This radical acceptance is not resignation, but a potent form of engagement, where we meet life on its own terms, with an open heart and a clear mind. It is a pathway to profound stillness, a spaciousness within our being that remains undisturbed by external commotion, allowing us to respond from a place of deep inner peace and clarity, rather than from reactivity or fear, nurturing a quiet contentment. This principle encourages us to cultivate a deep sense of self-knowledge and self-compassion, understanding our own limitations and strengths, and acting from a place of authenticity rather than external validation. When we truly understand our original nature and release the grip of Trishna or craving, our actions become inherently aligned with our deepest values. This leads to a sense of contentment and sufficiency, knowing that we are acting in accordance with our true self rather than trying to fulfill endless external demands. It is a path that honors our inherent worth, allowing us to move through life with a calm confidence that requires no external accolades, but simply arises from within, fostering a quiet strength. As we gently absorb these foundational aspects of Wu Wei, we begin to feel how this ancient wisdom can subtly reframe our understanding of effort and ease in our daily lives. This conceptual understanding now prepares us to delve into a more tangible illustration, bringing these ideas to life through a narrative that embodies the quiet power of effortless action. Let us now turn our attention to a story that vividly portrays how a simple shift in perspective, a surrender to the natural flow, can transform ordinary struggles into moments of profound grace and unexpected effectiveness, offering a felt sense of this deep principle. The weaver and the silk thread. In a quiet, sun-dappled workshop nestled amidst towering cedar trees, Ilara, a young master weaver, once wrestled with her craft. The air often hummed with the soft whirring of her loom, but also with the subtle tension in her shoulders and the furrow of her brow. She was highly skilled, her fingers nimble and quick, yet her early days were marked by a constant struggle against the silk threads, which seemed to tangle and snap with infuriating regularity. She would grip the shuttle tightly, her movements stiff and forceful, determined to impose her will upon the delicate fibers, convinced that sheer effort and control were the only paths to achieving the intricate patterns she envisioned. The frustration, a subtle form of suffering, often left her feeling drained, her beautiful creations born from a place of relentless striving rather than joyful flow. Ilara's workshop was a symphony of textures and subtle scents, the dry, earthy smell of raw wool, the sweet perfume of dyed silk, the faint metallic tang of the loom's mechanisms. She loved the vibrant colors, the way light played upon the finished fabrics, yet the process itself often felt arduous. Her fingers, though agile, would ache from the constant tension, her back stiff from leaning into the loom as if trying to physically push the threads into submission. She believed that every knot, every misplaced strand was a personal failure, demanding immediate and forceful correction. This internal battle, a manifestation of craving for perfection and control, prevented her from truly experiencing the inherent beauty of the weaving process itself, leaving her feeling perpetually just short of her desired peace. One quiet afternoon, her elderly mentor, Master Kyle, a man whose presence was as calm as the deepest forest pool, observed her struggle. He watched as Ilara, exasperated, tugged at a stubbornly tangled thread, her breath held tight in her chest. Kyle, with eyes that held the wisdom of countless seasons, simply placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Ilara," he murmured, his voice like the rustle of dry leaves. "The silk has its own song. You cannot force a melody that is not its own." So, he encouraged her to pause, to listen not just with her ears, but with her hands, to feel the subtle resistance and give of each strand, to let her movements become an extension of the loom's natural rhythm. Initially, Ilara resisted, her mind still clinging to the old ways of forceful control. How could she achieve precision without imposing her will? Yet, the exhaustion of her constant struggle began to wear her down, opening a small crack for Kale's teachings to enter. She began to experiment, releasing her grip on the shuttle, allowing her fingers to soften, to follow the threads rather than command them. she started paying closer attention to the subtle vibrations of the loom, the rhythmic click and clack becoming a guide rather than a mere sound. This shift in her approach was not about abandoning effort, but about refining it, making it more intelligent, more aligned with the inherent nature of the materials she worked with. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, a transformation began to unfold in her workshop. The air grew lighter, less charged with her frustration. Her shoulders relaxed, her breathing deepened. As she learned to yield, to adapt her movements to the silk's delicate strength, she found that the threads tangled less often. Her patterns, once painstakingly forced, now seemed to emerge with an unexpected grace, the colors flowing into each other with a new, organic harmony. The intricate designs she created were not only beautiful, but also imbued with a subtle quality of lightness, a testament to the newfound ease in her craft, a powerful embodiment of non-striving. This was not idleness, but a profound form of full presence, a deep engagement where her entire being was attuned to the weaving process. Her focus was absolute, yet her mind was spacious, free from the incessant chatter of self-criticism and future worries. She discovered that by letting the loom guide her hands, by trusting the inherent readiness of the fibers, she achieved a level of intricacy and perfection that had eluded her when she had tried to control every single aspect. The silk, once an adversary, became a cooperative partner, flowing through her fingers with a newfound freedom, a beautiful dance of collaboration. The metaphor of the weaver and the silk thread beautifully illustrates the principle of Wu Wei. It is not about doing nothing, but about doing with a quality of effortless action, a mindful awareness that allows us to move in harmony with the world around us. Alara learned that true mastery lies not in dominating the material, but in understanding its nature and responding with sensitivity, allowing the work to unfold through her rather than being solely driven by her ego. This embodied experience taught her the profound wisdom of yielding, of finding the path of least resistance, and of trusting the inherent intelligence of the process itself, leading to a deeper inner peace. Her creations, once born of struggle, now bore the mark of a profound serenity. The subtle energy infused in her tapestries spoke of a weaver who had found her rhythm, who had learned to listen to the whisper of the threads, allowing the beauty to emerge as a natural consequence of her aligned presence. This shift transcended the loom, seeping into her daily life, bringing a calm clarity to her decisions and interactions. She realized that the same principles of yielding and harmonious action could be applied to all aspects of her existence, transforming challenges into opportunities for growth and deeper understanding, fostering a radical acceptance of life's impermanence. This journey of transformation for Alara underscores the essence of Wu Wei, the understanding that our greatest effectiveness often comes not from brute force or rigid control, but from a sensitive, adaptive responsiveness to the unfolding moment. It is about releasing the grip of our expectations and allowing ourselves to be guided by a deeper, more profound wisdom that resides within and around us. Just as Alara learned to trust the silk, we too can cultivate this trust in the natural flow of life, finding a deeper sense of inner freedom and contentment in our actions, moving with a grace that is both powerful and profoundly gentle. This story of Alara, the weaver, beautifully illustrates how releasing the need for rigid control and embracing a more fluid approach can lead to greater skill and deeper contentment. As we reflect on her journey from struggle to effortless mastery, we can begin to appreciate the ancient wisdom that underpins such a transformation. This wisdom, deeply rooted in the philosophy of Taoism, provides the historical and conceptual framework for understanding Wu Wei, inviting us to explore its origins and the profound teachings from which it springs. Roots in the ancient Tao. The profound concept of Wu Wei, which we have just begun to explore through the story of Alara, finds its deepest roots and most eloquent articulation in the ancient philosophy of Taoism. This rich tradition, which emerged in China thousands of years ago, offers a unique perspective on the nature of reality and the ideal way for human beings to live within it. At the very heart of Taoist thought lies the concept of the Tao, often translated as the way or the path, but which encompasses something far more fundamental and pervasive. The Tao is not a god or a deity, but rather the underlying ineffable principle that governs the entire universe, the source and sustenance of all existence, an ever-present natural flow that is both mysterious and utterly self-evident, shaping all phenomena with an inherent wisdom. The foundational text for understanding the Tao, and by extension, Wu Wei, is the Tao Te Ching, a collection of poetic verses traditionally attributed to the revered sage Laozi. This ancient text, whose authorship is debated but whose influence is undeniable, is a tapestry of paradoxes and profound insights, guiding the reader towards a deeper understanding of universal truths. The Tao Te Ching does not offer rigid doctrines or commandments, but rather gentle suggestions and evocative images, inviting contemplation and personal discovery. It speaks of a wisdom that is not intellectual or acquired through study, but rather intuitive and experiential, arising from a direct engagement with the world as it is, fostering a beginner's mind. Laozi, a figure shrouded in myth and legend, is often depicted as an older, wiser contemporary of Confucius. His teachings emphasize simplicity, spontaneity, and a profound respect for the natural order. He believed that much of human suffering arises from our attempts to impose our will upon the world, to control what is inherently uncontrollable, and to grasp at fleeting desires, a clear echo of the Buddhist concept of Trishna. Instead, Laozi advocated for a return to a more natural, unforced way of living, where our actions are in harmony with the Tao, allowing us to experience a deep sense of inner peace and contentment, an embodiment of the principle of sufficiency. The Tao, as described in the Tao Te Ching, is often characterized as being formless, nameless, and inexhaustible. It is the silent force that moves the seasons, the unseen energy that causes seeds to sprout, the subtle intelligence that guides water downhill. It is everywhere and nowhere, simultaneously transcending and permeating all things. To align with the Tao, therefore, means to attune oneself to this universal pattern, to listen to its subtle whispers, and to allow its wisdom to guide our choices. This alignment leads to a state of effortless action, where our deeds are effective not because of strenuous effort, but because they are perfectly timed and perfectly suited to the prevailing conditions, a true expression of equanimity. In essence, the Tao Te Ching teaches that by letting go of our rigid expectations and our need for constant control, we can paradoxically achieve greater effectiveness and a deeper sense of well-being. This letting go is not passive resignation, but an active, conscious choice to trust in the inherent wisdom of the universe. It is a recognition of impermanence anicca, understanding that everything is in a constant state of flux, and that our attempts to cling to fixed outcomes only lead to suffering. Instead, we are invited to flow with these changes, adapting with flexibility and resilience, cultivating a state of full presence in each unfolding moment. The concept of Wu Wei, therefore, is directly derived from this understanding of the Tao. It is the practical application of Taoist philosophy to human conduct. When we practice Wu Wei, we are not abandoning action, but transforming its quality. We move from a place of doing that is driven by ego, ambition, or anxiety, to a doing that is rooted in a deeper awareness and alignment. This shift allows our actions to become more spontaneous, more intuitive, and ultimately more effective, much like a skilled artisan who works with their material rather than against it, fostering a profound inner freedom. This principle extends beyond individual actions to encompass how we navigate our entire lives. It suggests that by observing the natural world, by understanding the cycles of growth and decay, of coming and going, we can learn to apply these same principles to our own human endeavors. Just as a tree does not strain to grow but simply absorbs nourishment and reaches for the sun, so too can we allow our lives to unfold with a similar ease, trusting in the inherent intelligence of existence. This trust cultivates a deep sense of gratitude and contentment, recognizing the profound sufficiency of simply being. The wisdom of the Tao Te Ching, channeled through the concept of Wu Wei, encourages us to shed the layers of artificiality and societal conditioning that often distance us from our original nature. It invites us to reconnect with that primal, intuitive self that knows how to move through the world with grace and authenticity. This journey of reconnection is a path of self-knowledge, a gentle unveiling of the Buddha mind that resides within each of us, waiting to be rediscovered. It is a call to simpler living, to a life guided by inner wisdom rather than external pressures, fostering a sense of peace that permeates every aspect of our being. By embracing the teachings of Laozi and the Tao Te Ching, we are invited to step into a different relationship with effort, one where our actions are infused with a spaciousness and an ease that transforms our experience of daily life. We learn to observe with a calm awareness, to respond with wisdom, and to act only when the moment is ripe, rather than out of compulsion. This cultivation of Wu Wei, rooted in ancient wisdom, offers a profound pathway to a more harmonious and fulfilling existence, deeply connected to the universal flow. This journey into the ancient origins of Wu Wei and its connection to the Tao Te Ching by Laozi provides a rich philosophical backdrop for our exploration. Having understood what Wu Wei is and where it comes from, our next step is to clarify what it is not, dispelling common misconceptions and highlighting the nuanced distinction between effortless action and mere passivity or idleness, ensuring a precise understanding of this powerful concept. The cartographer's uncharted path. Kyle, a seasoned cartographer whose maps graced the libraries of scholars and the packs of intrepid explorers, was known for his meticulous precision. His workshop, filled with the scent of aged parchment and beeswax, was a testament to his dedication. Compasses gleamed, quills lay neatly arranged, and rolled charts depicted every known mountain range, every discernible river, every established trade route. For decades, Cale had prided himself on leaving no stone unturned, no detail unverified. He believed implicitly in the power of comprehensive planning, of understanding every variable before embarking on a journey. His expeditions were always rigorously pre-charted, every turn anticipated, every potential obstacle accounted for, a reflection of his deep-seated need for control and predictability in a vast, often unpredictable world. One particular season, Kyle set out to survey a remote mist-shrouded plateau, rumored to hold ancient ruins yet remaining largely unmapped. He carried his usual array of instruments, sextant, chronometer, detailed survey chains, and a stack of blank vellum. The air on the plateau was damp and cool, carrying the faint, earthy smell of moss and wet stone. The silence was profound, broken only by the occasional drip of moisture from unseen leaves. As days turned into weeks, a persistent, thick mist settled over the landscape, obscuring landmarks, disorienting his instruments, and rendering his carefully prepared charts utterly useless, plunging him into an unexpected state of not knowing. Frustration began to mount. Kyle, accustomed to absolute clarity, felt a growing sense of helplessness as his traditional methods failed him. He tried to force his way through the fog, pushing his team harder, recalculating his position with increasing desperation. But each attempt led only to deeper confusion and a palpable sense of being lost. The mist seemed to mock his need for control, dissolving the familiar world into an undifferentiated grey. His usual meticulousness became a burden, his reliance on external tools proving futile in a landscape that demanded a different kind of wisdom, a surrender to the immediate sensory experience. One evening, utterly exhausted and disheartened, Kale sat by a small crackling fire, the mist swirling just beyond its meager light. He closed his eyes, allowing the cool dampness to settle on his skin, listening to the drip, drip, drip of water from the unseen canopy. For the first time in his career, he consciously released his grip on the need to know, to plan, to control. He simply allowed himself to be present with the profound stillness and the subtle shifts in the air, a quiet act of acceptance that felt both terrifying and liberating, a softening to the impermanence of his situation. The next morning, instead of consulting his useless maps, Kale decided to move differently. He instructed his team to walk slowly, deliberately, not towards a planned destination, but simply to follow the path of least resistance, to feel the subtle inclination of the ground beneath their feet, to listen for any change in the sound of the air. He began to notice the way the mist thinned slightly in certain directions, the faint scent of a particular flower carried on a gentle breeze, the subtle shift in the texture of the earth that hinted at an underlying current of water, cultivating a deep, embodied awareness. They moved with a quiet, collective intuition, their pace unhurried, their senses heightened. Kale, instead of commanding, became an observer, a listener to the land itself. He noticed how the ground sloped gently downward in one direction, hinting at a natural drainage path. He felt the subtle warmth in the air that suggested a break in the mist ahead. There was no grand plan, no forced direction, just a responsive dance with the immediate environment, an embodiment of full presence, allowing for a deeper connection to the universal flow of the landscape. After what felt like an eternity, but was perhaps only a few hours, the mist began to thin, revealing patches of vibrant green moss and the distinct sound of flowing water. Guided by these subtle cues, they stumbled upon a hidden spring, its clear, cold water bubbling up from beneath ancient stones, a source of life that had never been marked on any map. Near it, partially obscured by clinging vines, were the very ruins Kale had been searching for, structures of an forgotten civilization, nestled peacefully in a place only accessible by trusting the unseen path. This unexpected discovery was a profound lesson for Kyle. He realized that true mastery, true wisdom, was not always about imposing one's will or meticulously planning every step. Sometimes, it was about surrendering to the unknown, trusting the subtle cues of the environment, and moving with a responsive grace, an embodiment of Wu Wei. By letting go of his rigid control and allowing himself to be guided by the natural flow, he had achieved more than he ever could have by force, finding a deeper sense of contentment and a quiet joy in the journey itself. The cartographer's journey through the mist beautifully illustrates how trusting the inherent wisdom of the Tao, the natural order of things, can lead to unexpected and profound discoveries. Kale's transformation from a rigid planner to a responsive explorer mirrors the essence of Wu Wei, acting not from force, but from an intuitive alignment with the unfolding moment. This experience taught him that sometimes the most direct path is found by yielding, by listening, and by allowing, rather than by striving and controlling, fostering a deeper sense of inner freedom. Kale's experience underscores that embracing Wu Wei is not about abandoning our goals, but about changing how we pursue them. It is an invitation to cultivate a deep inner stillness, a spaciousness that allows us to perceive the subtle currents of life and respond with effortless action. His discovery of the hidden spring and the ancient ruins, achieved through surrender rather than struggle, stands as a testament to the power of trusting the unseen path, finding a profound sufficiency in the journey itself. His journey now brings us to a crucial clarification: understanding what Wu Wei is not, to avoid common misinterpretations that could lead us astray from its true essence. Beyond passivity, what Wu Wei is not. Having explored the profound essence of Wu Wei and witnessed its power through the story of the cartographer, it is equally vital to clarify what Wu Wei is not, to dispel common misconceptions that can easily lead to a misunderstanding of this sophisticated principle. Wu Wei is emphatically not about passivity, idleness, or a generalized state of laziness. This is a crucial distinction, as a superficial interpretation might lead one to believe that it advocates for a complete cessation of effort, a withdrawal from the world, or an irresponsible avoidance of one's duties. Such an interpretation fundamentally misses the dynamic and engaged nature of true effortless action, leading to suffering rather than liberation. The idea that Wu Wei implies a lack of responsibility or a retreat from engagement is a significant misreading. In fact, the Taoist sages, and by extension, many Buddhist teachings, emphasize the importance of fulfilling one's role in the world, of maintaining ethical conduct, sila, and contributing to the harmony of the whole. Wu Wei is about how we engage, not whether we engage. It is about acting from a place of clarity and alignment, rather than from a place of internal friction, anxiety, or external pressure. It encourages a more discerning and effective form of action, one that is rooted in wisdom, prajna, rather than blind force. Consider the difference between genuine rest and mere procrastination. Procrastination is often driven by resistance, by a subtle form of craving to avoid discomfort, and it often leads to anxiety and a buildup of unresolved tasks. True rest, on the other hand, is a conscious choice to replenish energy, a vital component of sustainable action, and it leads to a renewed capacity for engagement. Wu Wei aligns with the latter. It's about understanding the natural rhythms of effort and rest, knowing when to act with vigor and when to allow things to unfold, rather than simply doing nothing out of inertia or fear, cultivating a deep sense of self-compassion. Many people, conditioned by a culture that often equates constant busyness with productivity, struggle with the idea of doing less or acting effortlessly. There is a pervasive belief that if we are not constantly striving, pushing, and exerting maximum effort, we are somehow failing. Wu Wei challenges this paradigm, suggesting that sometimes our most effective actions are those that appear to be the least effortful because they are perfectly timed, perfectly attuned to the circumstances, and flow from a place of deep inner stillness, a true embodiment of mushin, or no mind. A classic misinterpretation might be to imagine Wu Wei as simply letting things happen, without any input or guidance. This would be akin to a gardener who plants seeds but then never waters them, expecting a bountiful harvest. A gardener practicing Wu Wei would still plant the seeds, still water them, still tend to the soil, but they would do so with a quality of mindful awareness, not trying to force the plants to grow faster, not worrying incessantly about the outcome, but trusting in the natural process while providing the necessary conditions. This balance of intentionality and non-striving is key to its true understanding. So, when we speak of non-action, we are not advocating for idleness, but for action that is free from forced effort, from aggressive striving, and from the tension of attachment to specific outcomes. It is action that arises spontaneously and appropriately from a state of full presence and clear observation, a form of vipassana in action. This means being fully engaged with what is happening, responding skillfully to circumstances as they arise, but without the internal struggle or the external imposition of our will against the current of life. This is the essence of true inner freedom. Wu Wei also does not mean avoiding difficult situations or shirking responsibilities. On the contrary, it provides a framework for approaching challenges with greater clarity and effectiveness. When we are not consumed by the internal noise of resistance or anxiety, we are better able to perceive the most skillful path forward, even in complex situations. It allows for a more creative problem-solving approach, where solutions emerge naturally from a deep understanding of the situation, rather than being forced through sheer willpower or rigid adherence to preconceived notions, leading to better karma. Consider the example of a martial artist practicing Wu Wei. They are not passive, they are intensely present, highly skilled, and capable of decisive action. However, their movements are fluid, responsive, and economical, free from wasted effort or tension. They move with the opponent's energy, redirecting it rather than clashing head-on. This is not weakness, but a profound strength, an embodiment of the principle of adaptation and resilience, where power comes from yielding and aligning rather than from rigid confrontation, fostering a deep sense of spaciousness. Therefore, as we delve deeper into Wu Wei, let us hold this clear distinction in mind. It is not about doing nothing, but about doing with a quality of effortless action, a natural flow that is both highly effective and deeply peaceful. It is about cultivating a mind that is free from unnecessary internal struggle, allowing our actions to emerge from a place of clarity, wisdom, and profound alignment with the Tao, leading to a deeper sense of contentment and self-appreciation. This crucial distinction between effortless action and mere passivity sets the stage for a deeper understanding of Wu Wei's practical application. With this clarity, we are now ready to explore a vivid story that illustrates this principle in action, demonstrating how true skill and effectiveness arise not from frantic effort, but from a delicate balance of presence and non-forcing, bringing us closer to the heart of Wu Wei, the clockmaker's delicate balance. In the bustling heart of a city renowned for its precision instruments, Master Jin was once a clockmaker consumed by urgency. His workshop, a symphony of ticking, chiming, and the faint scent of oil and brass, was also often filled with the hurried scraping of tools and the sharp exhalations of a man under pressure. Jin, famed for his intricate timepieces, had a relentless drive to produce, to meet every deadline, to outpace his competitors. He believed that speed and sheer force were the keys to his success, often working late into the night, his brow furrowed, his hands gripping tiny tools with a tension that mirrored his internal state. This constant striving, a manifestation of Trishna, left him perpetually on edge, his mind a whirlwind of schedules and tasks, far from any sense of inner peace. His early work, though technically brilliant, sometimes lacked a certain subtle grace. Tiny gears, forced into place with too much pressure, would occasionally crack. Delicate springs, wound too tightly in his haste, would sometimes snap. Jin, in his relentless pursuit of efficiency, would often blame the materials, never quite realizing that the friction came from his own forceful approach, his need to dominate the intricate mechanisms rather than cooperate with them. The suffering caused by these minor setbacks and his own internal agitation was a constant, low hum beneath the surface of his apparent success, preventing him from experiencing true contentment. One particularly demanding season, with a complex astronomical clock due for a royal patron, Jin found himself utterly exhausted. His hands trembled, his eyes burned, and his usual precision began to falter. A tiny, almost invisible cog repeatedly refused to seat correctly, no matter how much he pushed or prodded. In a moment of sheer frustration, he flung his tweezers onto his workbench, the metallic clatter echoing in the sudden silence of the workshop. He leaned back, closing his eyes, allowing the rhythmic tick-tock of a dozen unfinished clocks to fill the void, a silent invitation to pause. In that unexpected moment of surrender, a faint memory surfaced. His own aged mentor, Master Shen, patiently assembling a pocket watch, his movements almost imperceptible, his breath even and deep. Shen had once told him, "The gears have their own dance, Jin. You must listen to their rhythm, not impose your own." Jin had dismissed it then, equating it with slowness. But now, in his despair, the words resonated with a new, profound meaning, a gentle whisper of the wisdom of non-striving. He realized his current approach was a battle against the very nature of the tiny components he sought to master. With a deep sigh, Jin picked up the stubborn cog again. This time, instead of forcing it, he simply held it between his thumb and forefinger, feeling its minute weight, its smooth edges. He brought it to the mechanism, not pushing, but gently guiding, allowing it to find its own alignment. He observed, with a newfound equanimous observation, the subtle resistance, the minute adjustments needed. His breath became slower, his movements softer, less about exerting control and more about facilitating, about creating the conditions for the cog to naturally settle into its designated place, an embodiment of patience. To his astonishment, with barely any conscious effort, the cog slipped perfectly into its slot with a faint, satisfying click. A wave of profound stillness washed over him. He realized that the problem had not been the cog, but his own forceful intention, his attachment to a preconceived outcome, rather than a responsive engagement with the present moment. This small victory was a revelation, a turning point in his understanding of his craft, a shift towards a more intentionality in his work. From that day forward, Master Jin's workshop retained its industrious hum, but the frantic energy was replaced by a calm, focused intensity. He still worked with immense dedication, but his movements were infused with a new fluidity, a gentle precision. He learned that true skill lay in understanding the inherent nature of each tiny component, in respecting its boundaries, and in allowing it to find its perfect place within the larger mechanism. His hands, once tense, now moved with a dancer's grace, coaxing the intricate parts into harmonious function, embodying a deeper sense of inner freedom. His timepieces, already renowned, now acquired an almost magical quality. They not only kept perfect time, but seemed to emanate a subtle serenity, a reflection of the calm and focused energy with which they were created. Jin discovered that by releasing the need for constant, overt effort, by embracing the principle of effortless action, he not only produced superior work, but also experienced a profound sense of contentment and well-being in the process. His days were no longer a battle against the clock, but a harmonious dance with time itself, a beautiful expression of his original nature. The clockmaker's journey beautifully illustrates the essence of Wu Wei, the art of doing without doing, of acting without forcing. It highlights that often, our most effective actions are those that arise from a place of inner stillness and deep alignment, rather than from strenuous, anxious effort. Jin learned that by yielding to the inherent wisdom of his materials, by allowing things to unfold naturally with conscious breathing, he achieved greater precision and a deeper sense of peace, transforming his craftsmanship into a profound practice of mindfulness, sati. This transformative story of Master Jin, the clockmaker, provides a vivid illustration of how releasing the need for rigid control and embracing a softer, more attuned approach can lead to greater mastery and a deeper sense of peace. His journey from frantic striving to effortless precision now beautifully sets the stage for our next exploration, delving deeper into the principle of acting in harmony with the Tao, understanding how this fundamental alignment shapes our every action and interaction in the world. Acting in harmony with the Tao. Building upon the insights gleaned from Master Jin's journey, we now turn our attention to the profound principle of acting in harmony with the Tao, a cornerstone of Wu Wei and a pathway to living a life of greater ease and effectiveness. To act in harmony with the Tao means to align our individual actions, intentions, and even our very presence with the universal patterns and rhythms that govern all existence. It is about understanding that there is an inherent intelligence to the unfolding of life, a natural flow that, when recognized and respected, can guide us with far greater wisdom than our often limited individual wills or our anxious attachments to specific outcomes. This is not about passive resignation, but about a sophisticated responsiveness, a conscious collaboration with the way things are. This principle encourages us to cultivate a deep sense of responsiveness over mere reaction. Reaction often springs from a place of fear, habit, or ego, pushing against circumstances or attempting to force them into a preconceived mold. Responsiveness, on the other hand, arises from a place of calm observation and a clear understanding of the present moment. It is about discerning the subtle cues, the opportune timing, and the most effective path forward, much like a skilled sailor adjusting sails to the wind, rather than trying to command the wind itself. This careful observation, a form of vipassana, allows our actions to be precise, economical, and profoundly impactful, free from unnecessary struggle or suffering. To truly act in harmony with the Tao is to allow circumstances to unfold rather than imposing our rigid will upon them. This does not mean abandoning our intentions or our goals, but rather holding them lightly, with non-attachment, being open to the myriad ways in which they might manifest or even transform. When we release our tight grip on how things should be, we create spaciousness for new possibilities to emerge, for solutions to present themselves that we might not have anticipated. This flexibility and adaptability are hallmarks of a mind that is attuned to the natural flow, fostering a deep sense of inner freedom and contentment. Consider the natural world as a grand teacher of this harmony. A tree does not strive to grow tall. It simply absorbs sunlight, water, and nutrients, allowing its growth to unfold organically. A river does not force its way through a mountain. It finds the path of least resistance, carving canyons over eons with persistent yet yielding flow. These are powerful metaphors for Wu Wei in action, achieving profound results not through brute force, but through consistent, intelligent alignment with inherent forces. Our human lives, too, can embody this same natural grace and effectiveness, if we learn to listen to the subtle currents within and around us, cultivating a beginner's mind. This alignment also extends to our interactions with others. When we engage with people in a spirit of harmony with the Tao, we approach them with empathy, metta, and compassion, karuna, seeking understanding rather than imposing our views. We learn to listen deeply, to discern their true needs and motivations, and to respond in a way that fosters connection and mutual growth rather than conflict or resistance. This creates a more peaceful and productive environment, both in our personal relationships and in broader societal contexts, contributing positively to our karma. The practice of acting in harmony with the Tao involves a continuous cultivation of mindfulness, sati, and conscious breathing, anapanasati. These practices help us to stay grounded in the present moment, to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment, and to reconnect with our inner stillness. From this place of calm clarity, our actions naturally become more aligned, more skillful, and more imbued with wisdom, prajna. We move through life with a sense of groundedness, an anchor in the ever-changing flow, allowing us to navigate challenges with greater equanimity and grace. This principle is a radical invitation to trust in something larger than our individual ego. It asks us to recognize that we are part of an interconnected web of existence, and that our actions have ripple effects far beyond our immediate perception. When we act in harmony with the Tao, we are not just serving ourselves, but also contributing to the greater well-being of the whole, fostering a sense of shared purpose and profound interconnectedness, an embodiment of the Sangha. This brings a deeper meaning and satisfaction to our lives, moving beyond mere personal achievement. Ultimately, acting in harmony with the Tao is a path towards profound inner peace and sufficiency. It is the realization that we do not need to constantly strive or exert immense effort to achieve our goals or find happiness. By aligning ourselves with the natural flow, by responding with wisdom and grace, we discover that life itself becomes a more effortless and joyful experience. Challenges still arise, but our relationship to them transforms, allowing us to meet them with a calm presence and an adaptable spirit, cultivating a deep sense of contentment. This deep integration of our actions with the universal flow is what grants Wu Wei its quiet power and transformative potential. It is a continuous dance between intention and surrender, between conscious engagement and allowing. By embracing this harmony, we unlock a natural effectiveness that transcends mere effort, leading to a life lived with greater ease and profound meaning. As we internalize this profound principle of acting in harmony with the Tao, recognizing its subtle yet powerful influence on our lives, we are now ready to witness it in action through a captivating story. This narrative will vividly illustrate how yielding to the inherent wisdom of the moment, rather than imposing one's will, can lead to unexpected and beautiful outcomes, bringing the abstract concept of harmony to a tangible, sensory experience, preparing us for the story of the potter. The potter's yielding hands. In a small, dusty village nestled in a valley where the river wound like a silver ribbon, Anya, a young potter, toiled at her wheel. The air in her studio was thick with the earthy scent of wet clay, the rhythmic whirring of the wheel, and the soft squelch of her hands on the spinning mound. Anya possessed an ardent passion for pottery, yet her early attempts were often marked by frustration. She approached the clay with a determined, almost aggressive energy, trying to force it into the precise, elegant forms she envisioned, often pushing too hard, pulling too quickly, or trying to impose her will before the clay was ready to yield. Her pieces, though ambitious, frequently collapsed, cracked, or emerged misshapen, leaving her disheartened and questioning her own talent. A subtle form of suffering arising from her struggle against the natural flow. Anya's hands, though strong, were often stiff with tension as she worked. She would grip the clay as if wrestling an opponent, her shoulders hunched, her breath held tight. She had a clear picture in her mind of the perfect vase, the flawless bowl, and she would strive relentlessly to manifest that mental image, convinced that absolute control was the only path to perfection. This constant striving, a manifestation of craving, meant that the process itself was rarely enjoyable. Each failure was met with a surge of self-criticism, reinforcing her belief that she simply needed to try harder, to exert more force, to be more dominant over the material, preventing her from finding inner peace. Her mentor, an old woman named Alara, whose hands were gnarled but moved with a surprising grace, watched Anya one afternoon as a promising pot wobbled and then collapsed under her forceful touch. Alara, her voice soft as the whisper of dry leaves, said, "Anya, the clay is not your enemy. It has its own wisdom, its own readiness. You must listen to it, not command it." She took a lump of clay and sat at the wheel, her movements slow, deliberate, almost meditative. She didn't press hard. Instead, her fingers danced around the spinning mound, gently coaxing, lightly guiding, responding to every subtle shift in the material, an embodiment of patience. Alara explained that the clay, when wet, holds a memory of the earth, a natural inclination to remain formless. To give it shape, one must work with that inclination, not against it. Feel its resistance, Alara instructed, but also feel its give. Find the point of balance where your intention meets its willingness to transform. Allow the form to emerge rather than imposing it. Whoa. This was a radical idea for Anya, who had always believed that the potter's job was to conquer the clay, to bend it to her will. This teaching was an invitation to a different kind of power, one rooted in responsiveness and adaptation. Anya began to experiment, albeit hesitantly at first. She softened her grip, consciously releasing the tension in her shoulders and jaw. She focused on her breath, trying to match its rhythm to the slow, steady spin of the wheel. Instead of pushing, she learned to yield, to allow her fingers to become more sensitive to the clay's subtle movements, its inherent readiness to ascend or expand. She discovered that by applying just the right amount of pressure, by responding to the clay's natural elasticity, she could guide it with far greater precision and less effort, cultivating a form of conscious breathing. The change was not immediate, but gradually, a profound transformation began in Anya's work. Her pieces became lighter, more elegant, imbued with a subtle fluidity they had previously lacked. The studio, once a place of struggle, became a sanctuary of focused calm. She realized that by letting go of her need for absolute control, by trusting the inherent wisdom of the clay, she was able to create forms that were not only beautiful, but also felt alive, as if they had grown organically from the earth itself. This was a profound realization of non-striving. This experience taught Anya that true mastery in pottery, and indeed in life, comes not from forcing outcomes, but from a sensitive, adaptive engagement with the present moment. It is about discerning the natural flow of things, understanding the inherent nature of the material or situation, and then responding with grace and precision. By yielding, she found power. By adapting, she found control. And by listening to the clay, she discovered a deeper connection to her craft and to herself, fostering a profound sense of inner freedom. Anya's journey beautifully illustrates the principle of yielding and finding harmony with the material world. a core tenet of Wu Wei. Her initial struggle against the clay, a metaphor for our struggles against life's natural currents, eventually gave way to a graceful collaboration. She learned that by embracing equanimous observation and allowing the form to emerge rather than imposing it, she achieved a level of artistry and contentment that had previously eluded her, transforming her work into a practice of full presence. The potter's yielding hands serve as a powerful reminder that our greatest effectiveness often comes from a place of softness, adaptability, and a deep respect for the inherent nature of what we are working with. By releasing the grip of rigid control and embracing a responsive, intuitive approach, we can transform our efforts from arduous battles into graceful dances, finding a deep sense of sufficiency in the unfolding process. This beautiful story now prepares us to delve into the nuanced concept of Wu Wei, the art of doing without doing, which Anya so perfectly embodied. Wu Wei, the art of effortless action. Having witnessed Anya's transformative journey at the potter's wheel, where yielding led to mastery, we now delve deeper into the heart of Wu Wei by exploring its paradoxical yet profoundly insightful extension. Wu Wei. This phrase, often translated as action without action or doing without doing, encapsulates the ultimate expression of effortless action. It is not an invitation to passivity, as we have clarified, but rather a description of action that arises from such a deep state of inner stillness and alignment that it appears to be spontaneous, unforced, and utterly natural, almost as if it were happening through us rather than by us. This is the pinnacle of skillful engagement, a seamless integration of intention and natural flow, leading to a profound inner freedom. Wu Wei describes a state where the ego's striving, its need to assert control and manipulate outcomes, has receded. In its place emerges a clarity of mind, a spaciousness that allows for actions to arise from a deeper, more intuitive source. It is the experience of being so fully present, so utterly absorbed in the moment, that the distinction between the doer and the doing dissolves. The action simply unfolds, guided by an inherent wisdom, much like a skilled musician whose fingers dance across an instrument without conscious thought, producing a melody that flows effortlessly from their being, a true embodiment of Mushin, or no mind. This art of effortless action signifies a profound shift in our relationship to effort. Instead of seeing effort as a strenuous exertion against resistance, Wu Wei reveals it as a concentrated yet relaxed engagement. Imagine a master archer. They do not strain to pull the bowstring. Instead, their entire body is aligned, their breath is steady, and the release of the arrow is a fluid extension of their focused intention, requiring immense concentration, samadhi, yet appearing utterly natural and without force. The effort is there, but it is integrated, harmonious, and therefore appears effortless, leading to profound stillness. At its core, Wu Wei encourages us to cultivate a deep inner stillness from which all effective action can arise. This stillness is not an absence of activity, but an absence of mental agitation, of the incessant internal chatter that often accompanies our attempts to control and predict. When the mind is quiet, when we are grounded in full presence, our capacity for discerning awareness increases exponentially. We can perceive the subtle nuances of a situation, the opportune moment for action, and the most skillful way to respond, allowing our actions to become expressions of wisdom, prajna, rather than mere reactions. This concept is deeply resonant with Buddhist teachings on mindfulness, sati, and conscious breathing, anapanasati. When we practice these forms of meditation, we are cultivating the very inner stillness that is foundational to Wu Wei. By observing our breath, by noticing sensations and thoughts without judgment, we are training our minds to release the grip of craving and attachment, to find a spaciousness within. From this cultivated inner sanctuary, our actions in the external world become less driven by impulse or anxiety and more guided by a calm, clear intelligence, fostering a deeper sense of contentment. Wu Wei also implies a profound trust in the natural unfolding of events, a surrender to the Tao. It is the understanding that while we have our part to play, we are not solely responsible for orchestrating every outcome. We do our part with skill and dedication, but then we release our tight grip on the results, allowing life to meet our efforts in its own way. This non-attachment to outcomes is liberating, freeing us from the suffering that often accompanies our desperate attempts to control what is ultimately beyond our individual power, fostering a radical acceptance of impermanence. The practice of Wu Wei transforms our relationship with daily tasks. Instead of seeing them as chores to be endured or obstacles to be overcome, we can approach them with a sense of mindful engagement, allowing each action to become a small meditation. Whether washing dishes, answering emails, or engaging in conversation, we bring our full presence, our quiet attention, to the task at hand. This transforms ordinary moments into opportunities for cultivating inner peace and effectiveness, creating a seamless integration between our inner and outer worlds, an embodiment of sacred pauses. This effortless action is not about achieving perfection, but about cultivating a quality of presence and responsiveness that allows us to move through life with greater ease and grace. It is the recognition that our original nature is inherently free and unburdened, and that by shedding the layers of conditioned striving, we can reconnect with that innate wisdom. This leads to a profound sense of self-knowledge and self-compassion, understanding that our worth is not tied to constant external achievement, but to the quality of our being, fostering a deep sufficiency. Wu Wei, therefore, is an invitation to live with a deeper sense of inner freedom, where our actions are expressions of our authentic self rather than reactions to external pressures or internal anxieties. It is the art of moving through life with a quiet power, achieving effectiveness not through struggle, but through a harmonious alignment with the universal flow. It is a path to profound stillness, a spaciousness within that allows us to engage with the world with both skill and serenity, leading to a sustained sense of well-being and inner peace, a true embodiment of the Buddha mind. This deep dive into Wu Wei, the art of effortless action, highlights how profound stillness and alignment can transform our every endeavor. As we move from this conceptual understanding, our next step is to explore a vivid narrative that embodies this very principle, illustrating how a master calligrapher, through the cultivation of an empty mind, achieves profound beauty and precision, bringing the abstract idea of doing without doing to a tangible, sensory experience. The calligrapher's empty brush. In a quiet corner of a bustling city, where the scent of incense mingled with the distant murmur of street vendors, lived Hiroshi, a master calligrapher. His studio was a sanctuary of focused calm, adorned with scrolls of exquisite characters and the faint aroma of sumi ink. Hiroshi was renowned for his ability to imbue each stroke with a profound sense of life and spirit, yet his path to this mastery was not without its struggles. In his youth, he had meticulously planned every character, every brushstroke, his mind filled with anxieties about perfection and the judgment of others. He would grip his brush tightly, his breath shallow, striving to reproduce an ideal image held rigidly in his mind, often resulting in stiff, lifeless characters that lacked the vital energy he so desperately sought, leading to a subtle suffering. Hiroshi's early days were marked by a relentless pursuit of technical flawless. He would spend hours practicing, his movements precise but often mechanical, driven by a fear of error and a craving for external validation. He believed that absolute control over his hand and brush was the sole determinant of artistic merit. Yet, despite his diligent effort and countless hours of practice, his characters often felt cold, lacking the warmth and spontaneity of true artistry. His mind was a constant internal dialogue of self-correction and striving, preventing him from experiencing the joy and inner freedom that his craft promised. One crisp autumn morning, his venerable teacher, Master Kenji, observed Hiroshi struggling with a particularly complex character. Kenji, whose own calligraphy seemed to breathe with an effortless grace, gently placed a hand on Hiroshi's shoulder. "Hiroshi," he said, his voice like the rustle of old silk, "your hand knows the strokes, but your mind is too full. The brush must be empty for the spirit to flow." He then demonstrated, lifting his own brush with a lightness that seemed to defy gravity, his movements fluid and unhesitating, creating a character that pulsed with an unseen energy, an embodiment of mushin or no mind. Kenji explained that true calligraphy was not about imposing one's will, but about becoming an open channel for the spirit of the character to manifest. "Prepare your ink, grind it with intention," Kenji advised. "Prepare your paper, smooth it with care. But when you lift the brush, let your mind be like the empty sky, without thought, without expectation. Allow the stroke to draw itself through you." This was a radical shift from Hiroshi's ingrained habits of meticulous planning and forceful execution, an invitation to a different kind of presence. Hiroshi began to practice this new approach, initially with great difficulty. His mind, accustomed to its incessant chatter, resisted the emptiness. Yet, the memory of Kenji's effortless strokes and the profound peace emanating from his teacher's work spurred him onward. He would sit for long periods before his paper, simply breathing, allowing his thoughts to dissipate like morning mist, cultivating a deep inner stillness and conscious breathing. He learned to release his grip on the outcome, to trust in the inherent wisdom of his trained hand, and to let go of the craving for perfection. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, a transformation began to unfold. As Hiroshi's mind emptied, his brushstrokes became imbued with a new vitality. The ink flowed with a richer texture, the lines possessed a natural elegance, and the characters, rather than being mere symbols, seemed to pulse with life. He discovered that by releasing the need to control every minuscule detail, by allowing the action to arise from a place of profound stillness, his art reached a level of authenticity and beauty that had previously been unattainable, a true expression of effortless action. This was not a lack of concentration, but a heightened form of it, a samadhi, where his awareness was so completely absorbed in the present moment that there was no room for self-consciousness or striving. The brush became an extension of his being, the ink and paper collaborators in a silent dance. He found that by trusting the inherent intelligence of his body and mind, trained over decades, the most exquisite characters emerged with an unexpected ease, a powerful testament to the principle of Wu Wei. The calligrapher's empty brush beautifully illustrates the concept of action arising from emptiness and full presence. Hiroshi learned that true mastery is not about forceful imposition, but about sensitive alignment, about becoming a conduit for something larger than oneself. By emptying his mind of preconceived notions and rigid expectations, He allowed the natural flow of creativity and skill to manifest, transforming his craft into a profound spiritual practice, fostering a deep sense of contentment and inner peace. Hiroshi's journey underscores that the art of effortless action is deeply rooted in cultivating a spacious, uncluttered mind. It is about trusting the innate wisdom that emerges when we release our grip on control and allow ourselves to be guided by a deeper, more intuitive intelligence. His exquisite calligraphy, born from this emptiness, stands as a testament to the power of Wu Wei, demonstrating how profound beauty and effectiveness can arise from a state of non-striving, an embodiment of his original nature. This understanding now seamlessly guides us to explore Wu Wei through broader metaphors, highlighting its qualities of softness, adaptation, and effectiveness in diverse contexts. Wu Wei as metaphor, softness, adaptation, and effectiveness. Having witnessed the profound transformation of Hiroshi, the calligrapher, whose empty mind allowed for strokes of unparalleled beauty, we now expand our understanding of Wu Wei by exploring its metaphorical dimensions, particularly through the lens of softness, adaptation, and inherent effectiveness. Wu Wei, at its core, is a principle that teaches us that strength does not always lie in rigidity or brute force, but often in flexibility, resilience, and a discerning ability to yield and adjust. It is an invitation to observe the natural world, to learn from its inherent wisdom, and to apply those lessons to our own lives, finding a deeper sense of inner freedom and ease. Consider the metaphor of water, a classic Taoist symbol, though we approach it with a fresh perspective, focusing on its specific qualities rather than overused imagery. Water, though soft and yielding, is incredibly powerful. It can carve canyons, erode mountains, and sustain all life, not through direct confrontation, but through persistence, adaptation, and finding the path of least resistance. It flows around obstacles, seeps through cracks, and always seeks the lowest point, eventually achieving its purpose with an undeniable, quiet effectiveness. This adaptability, this inherent fluidity, is a profound lesson in Wu Wei, teaching us to move with circumstances rather than against them, fostering a deep sense of equanimity. The effectiveness of Wu Wei lies precisely in this capacity for adaptation. When we are rigid, we are prone to breaking. When we are flexible, we can bend without snapping, allowing us to navigate challenges with greater resilience. This is not about being weak or indecisive, but about being intelligently responsive, observing the changing currents of life and adjusting our approach accordingly. It is about understanding that sometimes the most direct path is found by taking a detour, by yielding to a temporary obstacle, and by allowing solutions to emerge organically rather than forcing a predetermined outcome, cultivating a deep sense of self-knowledge. Think of a seasoned tree in a strong wind. It does not stand rigidly, resisting the gale with unyielding force. Instead, its branches sway and bend, its leaves rustle and give way, allowing the wind to pass through. This flexibility, this capacity to adapt to external forces, is what allows the tree to remain rooted and strong, enduring countless storms. If it were rigid, it would snap. This simple observation from the natural world teaches us a profound lesson in Wu Wei, that sometimes yielding is the greatest strength, leading to long-term stability and profound stillness. This principle of softness and adaptation also applies to our internal landscape. When we encounter difficult emotions or challenging thoughts, our natural inclination is often to resist them, to fight against them, or to try and push them away. This internal struggle, a form of suffering, only amplifies their power. Wu Wei suggests a different approach. to meet these internal experiences with a quality of gentle acceptance, to observe them without judgment, and to allow them to pass through us, like the wind through the tree. This non-attachment to our internal states creates spaciousness and inner freedom. The effectiveness of Wu Wei is not measured by the amount of effort expended, but by the quality of the outcome and the sense of ease in the process. When we act in harmony with the natural flow, our actions become more efficient, more precise, and more impactful. We achieve our goals not through frantic striving or overwhelming force, but through a subtle alignment with the inherent wisdom of the situation. This leads to a deeper sense of contentment and sufficiency, knowing that we are acting from a place of deep inner peace rather than from a place of anxiety or craving, fostering a profound inner freedom. This metaphorical understanding of Wu Wei encourages us to look beyond superficial appearances and to recognize the profound power that lies in subtlety and responsiveness. It challenges our conditioned belief that only overt, forceful action can bring about change or achieve results. Instead, it invites us to cultivate a more nuanced approach to life, one where our actions are guided by wisdom, prajna, and a deep understanding of the interconnectedness of all things, an embodiment of the Dharma. This fosters a constant sense of gratitude for the unfolding of life. The wisdom of Wu Wei, as expressed through these metaphors, is a call to integrate our actions with the inherent intelligence of the universe. It is about finding the balance between intention and surrender, between doing and allowing. When we embody softness, adaptation, and quiet effectiveness, we move through life with a grace that is both powerful and profoundly peaceful, creating a more harmonious existence for ourselves and for those around us, enriching our karma and our sangha. This exploration of Wu Wei through the lens of softness, adaptation, and effectiveness highlights how these qualities lead to profound results. As we gently absorb these insights, recognizing the subtle power in yielding and flowing, we are now ready to apply this understanding to the practicalities of our modern lives. Our next step is to explore how Wu Wei can profoundly impact our daily decisions, inviting us to less control and more timing, transforming our approach to everyday choices with greater ease and wisdom. The blacksmith's patient hammer. In a remote mountain village, where the air tasted of pine smoke and cool iron, lived old man Eiji, a blacksmith whose creations were legendary. His forge, a cavernous space filled with the clang of hammer on anvil and the roar of bellows, was unlike any other. While younger smiths worked with frantic energy, striking their metal with brute force, Eiji moved with a deliberate, almost meditative calm. In his youth, Eiji had been as impetuous as any, pushing the molten metal with aggressive blows, often cracking his pieces or leaving them brittle. His early frustration, a form of suffering, stemmed from his desperate attempts to impose his will upon the iron rather than understanding its inherent nature, leading to constant struggle. Eiji remembered the scorching heat and the blinding sparks, the sheer physical exertion of those early days. He would wipe sweat from his brow, his muscles aching, always feeling as though he was battling the metal rather than shaping it. His mind was a tempest of urgency, driven by deadlines and a craving for recognition, which led him to rush the crucial cooling and heating cycles. He had believed that the more force he applied, the faster and better the results would be. A common misconception that often led to imperfections and a deep sense of dissatisfaction with his craft, preventing him from achieving inner peace. His own master, a quiet woman known only as Hana, had once observed him furiously hammering a stubbornly rigid piece of steel. She had simply said, Agi, the iron will tell you when it is ready. You must listen to its glow, feel its give. Patience is the true forge. Hana had demonstrated by holding a piece of red-hot metal with tongs, not striking it immediately, but watching its color, feeling the subtle vibrations, waiting for the precise moment when its internal resistance softened, when it was most pliable, an embodiment of equanimous observation. Agi, humbled by his mentor's calm authority and the superior quality of her work, began to change his approach. He learned to observe the metal with a new kind of attention, a deep presence. He watched the subtle dance of colors as the iron heated, the dull cherry red, the glowing orange, the brilliant white hot. He learned to feel the slight give in the tongs, sensing the moment when the metal reached its optimal plasticity, when it was most willing to be shaped. This was not about inaction, but about intelligent, perfectly timed action, a form of conscious breathing that extended to his entire being. He discovered that striking the metal at the exact right moment, with just the right amount of force, was far more effective than a barrage of hurried, ill-timed blows. His hammer strokes became rhythmic, almost musical, each one purposeful and precise, coaxing the metal into shape rather than forcing it. He learned to trust the inherent readiness of the iron, allowing its nature to guide his hand, rather than imposing his own rigid will. This patient engagement transformed his work, making it less arduous and far more satisfying, fostering a profound inner freedom. Agi's forge, though still a place of immense heat and powerful sounds, became imbued with a palpable sense of calm. The quality of his steel improved dramatically. His blades held a sharper edge, his tools possessed a greater resilience, and his decorative ironwork seemed to hum with a subtle life, reflecting the harmonious energy with which it was created. He found that by aligning his actions with the natural properties of the metal, by respecting its cycles of heating and cooling, he achieved a level of craftsmanship that surpassed his earlier, more forceful efforts, leading to a deeper sense of contentment. This transformation taught Old Man Agi a profound lesson, that true power often lies not in brute strength or constant striving, but in patience, discernment, and a deep understanding of the natural flow. He realized that by adapting his actions to the inherent nature of the material, by striking only when the iron was ready, he achieved his desired outcomes with greater ease and superior results. This was the essence of Wu Wei in the blacksmith's craft, doing without forcing, acting with perfect timing and a deep, intuitive responsiveness, a true embodiment of non-striving. The blacksmith's patient hammer beautifully illustrates the power of patience, timing, and adaptation in achieving desired outcomes, a core tenet of Wu Wei. Agi's journey from forceful struggle to graceful precision highlights that by yielding to the inherent wisdom of the material and the moment, we can achieve far greater effectiveness and a deeper sense of inner peace. His story reminds us that sometimes the most powerful action is the one taken with the least overt struggle, leading to a profound sense of sufficiency. Agi's mastery, born from patient observation and responsive action, underscores that Wu Wei is a principle applicable to all forms of skilled endeavor. It is about aligning our internal state with the external reality, allowing our actions to flow from a place of clarity and grace rather than tension and struggle. His profound understanding now guides us to consider how these principles can be applied to our daily decisions, inviting us to less control and more timing in the complex tapestry of modern life. Wu Wei in daily decisions. Less control, more timing. Building upon the wisdom of Old Man Agi, the blacksmith, whose patient hammer taught us the power of timing and adaptation, we now turn our attention to applying the profound principles of Wu Wei to the intricate tapestry of our daily decisions. In a world that often demands immediate answers, quick reactions, and constant control, the invitation of Wu Wei is a radical one: to cultivate less control and more timing, allowing our choices to emerge from a place of clarity and alignment with the natural flow, rather than from frantic overthinking or anxious grasping. This shift can bring a profound sense of inner freedom and reduce much of the unnecessary suffering we experience. Our modern routines are often characterized by an overwhelming need to control every variable, to plan every outcome, and to micromanage every detail. We cling to rigid schedules, become anxious when things deviate from our expectations, and often exhaust ourselves trying to force situations into alignment with our desires. This constant striving for control, a manifestation of Trishna, not only leads to stress and burnout, but also often blinds us to more skillful and effective paths that might emerge if we allowed for greater flexibility and openness. Wu Wei offers a gentle antidote to this pervasive tension, fostering a deeper sense of inner peace. Applying Wu Wei to daily choices means cultivating a practice of letting go of rigid expectations and the need to constantly manipulate circumstances. It is about understanding that while we can set intentions and take skillful actions, the universe also has its own timing and its own way of unfolding. By releasing our tight grip on specific outcomes, we create spaciousness for new possibilities to emerge, for serendipitous connections to form, and for solutions to present themselves in ways we might not have anticipated. This non-attachment is a powerful pathway to contentment. This principle encourages us to trust our intuition more deeply. Intuition, when cultivated through mindfulness, sati, and a quiet mind, can be a powerful guide, offering insights that bypass the often overthinking analytical mind. Instead of agonizing over every decision, we can learn to pause, to listen to the subtle whispers of our inner wisdom, and to discern the opportune moment for action. This is not about impulsivity, but about a refined sensitivity to the present moment, a form of equanimous observation that allows for intelligent, effortless action. Consider the simple act of sending an important email or making a crucial phone call. Our conditioned response might be to do it immediately, to get it over with, driven by a sense of urgency. A Wu Wei approach might involve pausing, noticing the internal state, assessing the optimal time for the recipient, or waiting for a moment when our own mind feels clear and focused. This subtle shift in timing can dramatically alter the reception and effectiveness of our communication, leading to more harmonious interactions and better karma. Wu Wei in daily decisions is about recognizing that sometimes the most effective action is no action at all, or rather, a patient waiting for the right conditions to emerge. It's about understanding that forced action, taken out of impatience or anxiety, often leads to unnecessary complications and resistance. Just as a plant cannot be forced to bloom before its season, so too do many situations in our lives require a certain ripening, a natural unfolding that cannot be rushed without adverse consequences, fostering a deeper sense of wisdom, prajna. This practice also involves simplifying our routines and releasing the burden of excessive planning. While planning has its place, an over-reliance on rigid schedules can stifle spontaneity and create unnecessary stress when life inevitably throws us a curveball. By embracing a more fluid approach, by being present with each moment as it unfolds, we can respond with greater adaptability and grace, transforming our relationship with time and productivity, leading to a deeper sense of sufficiency and inner freedom. The cultivation of less control and more timing is a continuous practice of self-knowledge and self-compassion. It requires us to gently challenge our ingrained habits of striving and grasping, to observe our internal resistance without judgment, and to gradually soften our approach to life. It is about trusting that we already carry what we need within us, that our original nature is capable of navigating life with an inherent wisdom, and that we don't need to constantly push or force to achieve our well-being, fostering a profound sense of contentment. Ultimately, by applying Wu Wei to our daily decisions, we transform our experience of routine from one of constant struggle to one of greater ease and flow. We learn to move through our days with a quiet confidence, knowing that our actions are aligned with a deeper intelligence, and that by releasing the need for absolute control, we gain a profound sense of inner peace and effectiveness. This shift allows us to experience life as a dance rather than a battle, leading to a greater sense of gratitude. This exploration of Wu Wei in daily decisions highlights the profound benefits of less control and more timing, leading to greater ease and effectiveness. As we internalize these principles, recognizing how they can reshape our approach to everyday choices, we are now perfectly poised to witness a vivid story that embodies this wisdom. Our next narrative will illustrate how a shipwright, through patient observation and trust in natural rhythms, achieves a seamless and successful outcome, bringing the abstract idea of timing to a tangible, sensory experience. The shipwright's patient launch. In a bustling coastal town, where the air was perpetually salty and filled with the cries of gulls, Elara was a shipwright of extraordinary skill. Her shipyard, a symphony of sawing, hammering, and the scent of freshly cut timber and tar, was renowned for producing vessels that were not only robust, but also possessed an uncommon grace on the water. For months, Elara and her team had poured their collective energy into a magnificent new merchant vessel, a testament to intricate craftsmanship and meticulous design. The launch day was set, a grand occasion anticipated by the entire town, and Elara, despite her calm demeanor, felt the subtle hum of expectation and the immense responsibility for a seamless transition from land to sea. The day dawned grey and ominous. A storm, unpredicted by the morning's clear skies, began to gather on the horizon, bringing with it a sudden, fierce wind that whipped the flags on the docks and stirred the usually placid waters of the harbour into choppy waves. The townspeople, gathered for the festive launch, grew restless, their murmurs reflecting the growing anxiety. Elara's foreman, a burly man named Kale, approached her, his face etched with worry. "Master Elara," he boomed over the rising wind. "The tide is perfect now, but this weather. Should we push through? The schedule demands it." His voice held the urgency of a man accustomed to forcing outcomes. Elara stood by the massive hull, her hand resting gently on its smooth, varnished timber. She felt the vibrations of the wind against the ship, heard the groaning of the ropes, and observed the agitated churn of the water in the harbour. Her initial instinct, conditioned by years of meeting tight deadlines, was to agree with Kale, to push through the storm, to force the launch according to the pre-established plan. Yet, a deeper wisdom, cultivated through years of observing the sea's unpredictable moods, whispered a different counsel. She closed her eyes for a moment, connecting with her conscious breathing, allowing the external chaos to settle into an inner stillness. She remembered her own mentor, an old fisherwoman who had taught her to read the subtle signs of the sea. "The sea has its own timing, child," she had said. "You cannot rush its temper. To force a passage is to invite disaster." This wisdom resonated deeply with the principles of Wu Wei, of acting in harmony with the natural flow. Elara knew that forcing the launch in such conditions, even with the tide at its peak, would be a battle against the elements, risking damage to the new vessel and potential injury to her crew. It would be an act of striving against the Tao, an invitation to suffering. Opening her eyes, Elara looked at Kyle, her gaze steady. "No, Kyle," she said, her voice calm amidst the rising wind. "We will not force it. The sea is not ready to receive her. We will wait." A collective gasp went through the assembled crowd, and Kyle's brow furrowed deeper. "But the tide," he began. Elara simply raised a hand. "There will be another tide, Kyle, a calmer one. We will trust in that." She made the difficult decision to postpone the launch, despite the economic pressure and public expectation, choosing alignment over rigid adherence to schedule, a profound act of non-attachment to a preconceived outcome. The decision was met with a mixture of disappointment and grudging respect. Elara and her crew worked quickly to secure the ship against the worsening storm, their actions now focused on protection rather than propulsion. The storm raged for hours, unleashing torrential rain and powerful gusts, validating Elara's intuitive decision. The harbour became a furious maelstrom, and it was clear that any attempt to launch during that period would have been catastrophic, leading to immense suffering and loss. The next morning, the sky was a brilliant, clear blue, and the sea was calm, its surface rippling gently under the soft sunlight. The air was fresh, carrying the clean scent of rain-washed earth and salt. And as the tide began to rise, slowly and steadily, it was the perfect, gentle swell for a launch. With renewed spirits and a deep sense of gratitude for Elara's wisdom, the crew prepared the ship. This time, there was no frantic energy, no tension, only a quiet, focused anticipation, an embodiment of full presence. As the great vessel slid gracefully into the water, a ripple of cheers erupted from the smaller but deeply appreciative crowd. The ship floated perfectly, rocking gently on the calm waves, its timbers gleaming in the morning sun. There was an undeniable sense of rightness, of effortless action in the moment. Elara watched, a quiet contentment settling in her heart. She knew that by yielding to the wisdom of the weather and the tides, by releasing her need for rigid control, she had ensured a truly successful and harmonious launch, embodying the principle of sufficiency. The shipwright's patient launch beautifully illustrates the wisdom of timing and releasing the need for rigid control, a core tenet of Wu Wei. Elara's decision to wait, despite external pressures, highlights that true effectiveness often comes from aligning with the natural flow of circumstances rather than forcing a predetermined schedule. Her story reminds us that sometimes the most powerful action is the one taken with the least overt struggle, leading to profound outcomes and a deeper sense of inner peace. Elara's profound understanding of timing and her ability to trust the natural rhythms of the sea underscore the power of Wu Wei in real-world decision-making. Her journey from the pressure of deadlines to the grace of an effortless launch provides a tangible example of how less control can lead to greater success. This understanding now prepares us to delve into practical methods for cultivating Wu Wei in our own lives, exploring specific practices that invite greater attention, simplicity, and non-attachment into our modern routines. Cultivating Wu Wei. Practices for modern life. Having absorbed the profound wisdom of Elara, the shipwright, whose patient launch demonstrated the power of timing and non-forcing, we now turn our attention to the practical application of Wu Wei in our modern lives. How can we, amidst the demands of our busy routines, begin to cultivate this elusive quality of effortless action and inner freedom? The path to Wu Wei is not about grand gestures or dramatic changes, but rather about incorporating subtle, consistent practices that invite greater attention, simplicity, and desapego, non-attachment, into our daily existence. These practices help us to reconnect with our original nature and the natural flow of life, fostering a profound sense of inner peace. One of the most foundational practices for cultivating Wu Wei is conscious breathing, anapanasati. Our breath is a constant, reliable anchor to the present moment, a direct connection to the natural rhythms of our own bodies. By simply paying attention to the inhale and exhale, noticing its depth, its texture, its subtle rise and fall, we bring ourselves into a state of full presence. This simple act of mindful awareness, sati, calms the nervous system, quiets the incessant chatter of the mind, and creates a spaciousness from which more skillful and less reactive actions can emerge. It is the bedrock upon which all other practices for effortless action are built, fostering a deep sense of self-compassion. Another powerful practice is simplifying our routines. In our quest for efficiency and productivity, we often overcomplicate our lives, filling every moment with tasks and commitments, leading to a pervasive sense of urgency and suffering. Cultivating Wu Wei invites us to pause and examine what truly serves our well-being and our deepest values. By consciously letting go of unnecessary activities, by decluttering our physical and mental spaces, we create room for greater clarity, focus, and ease. This radical acceptance of simplicity is not about doing less for the sake of it, but about doing what truly matters with greater intention and less friction, leading to profound contentment. Desapego, or non-attachment, is a critical component in cultivating Wu Wei. This does not mean becoming indifferent or uncaring, but rather releasing our tight grip on specific outcomes, expectations, and even our own identities. When we are deeply attached to how things should be, we create internal resistance and suffering when reality inevitably deviates from our plans, a clear manifestation of Trishna. By practicing non-attachment, we learn to engage with life with an open hand, doing our best, but then allowing for the natural unfolding, trusting in the inherent wisdom of the Tao, fostering a deeper sense of inner freedom. Mindfulness, sati, extends beyond conscious breathing to encompass our entire sensory experience. When we engage in any activity, whether it is washing dishes, walking, or working, we can bring our full, undivided attention to it. We notice the sensations, the sounds, the textures, the subtle movements. This deep engagement with the present moment, free from distraction or judgment, transforms ordinary tasks into opportunities for cultivating inner stillness and effortless action. When our awareness is sharp and clear, our actions naturally become more precise, more effective, and more imbued with a sense of grace, an embodiment of observing awareness. Cultivating Wu Wei also involves a gentle, yet persistent practice of letting go of rigid expectations. We often carry around a heavy burden of how we believe things should be, how others should behave, or how life should unfold. These expectations are often the source of our deepest disappointments and frustrations. By consciously releasing them, by embracing a beginner's mind, shoshin, and approaching each moment with openness and curiosity, we create space for life to surprise us, to offer solutions and experiences that transcend our limited preconceived notions, leading to greater gratitude. Finally, integrating periods of sacred pauses throughout our day can profoundly support the cultivation of Wu Wei. These are brief moments of intentional stillness, where we step away from activity, even for just a minute or two, to simply breathe, to check in with our internal state, and to reconnect with our inner peace. These pauses act as mini resets, preventing the accumulation of tension and allowing us to return to our tasks with renewed clarity and a more effortless approach. They remind us that our true power lies not in constant motion, but in a dynamic balance of activity and stillness, fostering a deeper sense of self-knowledge. By embracing these practices of conscious breathing, simplifying our routines, cultivating non-attachment, practicing mindfulness, letting go of rigid expectations, and integrating sacred pauses, we gradually transform our relationship with effort and action. We learn to move through life with greater ease, effectiveness, and a profound sense of inner freedom, allowing Wu Wei to permeate every aspect of our modern existence, leading to a deeper sense of contentment and sufficiency. This exploration of practical ways to cultivate Wu Wei through attention, simplicity, and non-attachment provides a clear pathway for integrating this ancient wisdom into our daily lives. As we consider how these practices can reshape our approach to the world, our next step is to witness this cultivation in a tangible narrative, illustrating how a gardener, through unseen work and trust in natural processes, achieves a vibrant and thriving outcome, bringing the abstract idea of gentle cultivation to a sensory experience. The gardener's unseen work. In the heart of a bustling city, where concrete and glass dominated the skyline, Ren tended a small, vibrant community garden. His plot, a lush oasis bursting with colour and life, stood in stark contrast to the surrounding urban clamour. Unlike many other gardeners who fussed constantly, pruning aggressively, and dousing their plants with an array of fertilizers, Ren approached his work with a quiet, almost imperceptible grace. In his youth, he had been an anxious gardener, constantly checking, pulling, and trying to force rapid growth, convinced that more intervention equaled more bounty. This constant striving, a form of trishna, had often led to stunted plants and a pervasive sense of inadequacy, causing a subtle suffering. Ren's early gardening days were marked by a frantic energy. He would pore over books, meticulously measuring nutrients and pulling at stubborn weeds with a vengeance, believing that every single detail had to be controlled to achieve perfection. He would become disheartened when his sprouts didn't emerge fast enough or his flowers didn't bloom as vibrantly as his neighbors. This internal struggle, a manifestation of craving for immediate results, left him perpetually restless, unable to fully appreciate the slow, deliberate beauty of the natural world, preventing him from experiencing true contentment. One sweltering summer afternoon, as Ren frantically tried to prop up a drooping tomato plant, an elderly woman named Kiko, who tended a small, unassuming plot next to his, observed him with a gentle smile. Kiko's garden, though modest, always seemed to thrive with an effortless abundance. "Ren," she murmured, her voice soft as the rustle of leaves, "the earth knows its own work. Your job is to listen, not to command." She then showed him how she simply prepared the soil with love, planted the seeds with intention, and then allowed the sun and rain to do their profound, unseen work, an embodiment of non-striving. Kiko explained that while a gardener must provide the right conditions, the actual act of growth is beyond human control. "You cannot pull a sprout faster," she said, "nor force a bloom before its time. The wisdom of the plant, the wisdom of the earth, is far greater than our own impatience." See, this was a radical idea for Ren, who had always believed that the gardener's hand was the primary force behind growth. Kiko's teaching was an invitation to a different kind of power, one rooted in trust, patience, and a deep respect for the natural flow, the Tao. Ren began to experiment with Kiko's approach. He still prepared his soil with care, turning it gently, enriching it with compost. he still planted his seeds with intention, envisioning their future growth. But then, he learned to step back, to observe with a newfound equanimous observation. He watered when the earth was truly dry, not just because his schedule dictated it. He pulled weeds not with anger, but with a quiet focus, seeing them as part of the natural cycle, not an enemy to be eradicated, cultivating a deep sense of mindfulness, sati. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, a profound transformation began in Ren's garden. The plants seemed to respond to his softened approach, growing with a vigor and resilience they had lacked before. His tomatoes ripened with a richer flavor, his flowers bloomed with a more vibrant hue, and his herbs exuded a more potent fragrance. He discovered that by releasing his need for constant intervention, by trusting the inherent wisdom of nature, his garden not only thrived, but also brought him a profound sense of inner peace and joy, a true expression of effortless action. This was not idleness, but a profound form of full presence and deep engagement. Ren's work in the garden became a meditation, a practice of conscious breathing, anapanasati. He was completely absorbed in the moment, noticing the subtle changes in the light, the hum of insects, the delicate unfurling of new leaves. He realized that by allowing the earth and sun to do their work, by providing the necessary conditions without forcing the outcome, he was participating in a beautiful, natural dance, fostering a deep sense of contentment and sufficiency. The gardener's unseen work beautifully illustrates the practice of mindful observation, patience, and trusting the natural unfolding. Ren learned that true abundance comes not from frantic striving or excessive control, but from a sensitive alignment with the inherent wisdom of nature. By releasing his need to pull the sprouts faster or force the blooms, he allowed his garden to flourish with vibrant, unexpected life, transforming his labor into a source of profound inner freedom and gratitude. Ren's journey underscores that Wu Wei is about intelligent, skillful action that works with the natural order rather than against it. It is an invitation to cultivate a deep inner stillness and a spacious mind, allowing us to discern when to act and when to allow, when to intervene and when to simply observe. His thriving garden, born from this gentle approach, stands as a testament to the power of trusting the unseen processes, an embodiment of his original nature. This profound understanding of cultivation now leads us to a crucial clarification, recognizing the limits of Wu Wei and understanding when decisive action is truly necessary. Recognizing limits, when action is necessary. Having witnessed Ren, the gardener, cultivate his vibrant oasis through unseen work and profound trust in natural processes, we now arrive at a crucial point in our exploration of Wu Wei, recognizing its limits and understanding when decisive, intentional action is not only appropriate, but absolutely necessary. While Wu Wei champions effortless action and harmony with the natural flow, it is fundamentally distinct from blind passivity or an abdication of responsibility. The wisdom of Wu Wei lies in how we act, not always in whether we act. There are indeed times when direct, focused effort and intervention are crucial, and to mistake Wu Wei for perpetual inaction would be a profound misinterpretation, leading to suffering rather than liberation. The principle of Wu Wei is not an excuse for avoiding difficult tasks or shirking our ethical responsibilities, Sila. Both Taoism and Buddhism, from which Wu Wei draws resonance, emphasize the importance of right action, right livelihood, and contributing to the well-being of the Sangha, the community. If we witness injustice, or if our own lives require foundational effort to build stability and structure, then genuine action, imbued with compassion, karuna, and wisdom, prajna, is imperative. Wu Wei helps us act skillfully in these situations, but it does not suggest we remain inert in the face of need or challenge, for that would be a form of anatta, a self-defeating non-being. Consider a situation where a foundational structure is failing, such as a building with a cracked support beam. To practice Wu Wei in this context would not mean observing the crack with equanimous observation and simply waiting for it to collapse, trusting in the natural flow. That would be irresponsible. Instead, Wu Wei would guide us to address the problem with clarity, precision, and the appropriate amount of effort to repair or reinforce the beam. The action itself would be taken without frantic anxiety or unnecessary struggle, but with focused intention and skill, ensuring the integrity of the structure, an embodiment of concentration, samadhi. Wu Wei is about acting from a place of inner clarity and alignment, which inherently includes the discernment to know when intervention is required. If a child is in danger, a parent does not pause to contemplate the natural flow. They act immediately and decisively to protect their child. This is not a violation of Wu Wei, but an expression of a deeper, more fundamental harmony, the natural impulse to protect and care, arising from a place of profound love and responsibility. The action is immediate, unforced by internal debate, and therefore, in its own way, effortless in its execution, a true expression of full presence. The limits of Wu Wei become apparent when our inaction leads to avoidable harm, neglect, or the erosion of necessary foundations. If we are building a career, nurturing a relationship, or maintaining our physical health, these endeavors require consistent, intentional effort. Wu Wei teaches us to apply that effort skillfully, without tension or attachment to outcomes, but it does not suggest that the effort itself is optional. It is about the quality of the effort, transforming it from arduous striving to purposeful engagement, fostering a deeper sense of sufficiency and contentment. Therefore, the practice of Wu Wei is not about abandoning our agency, but about refining it. It is about understanding that while some things require patience and allowing, others demand our direct and focused attention. The wisdom lies in discerning the difference, in cultivating a mind that can read the subtle cues of each situation and respond appropriately. This discernment, often honed through practices like mindfulness, sati, and self-knowledge, allows us to navigate life's complexities with both grace and effectiveness, leading to a deeper inner peace. We must guard against using Wu Wei as an excuse for procrastination or apathy, as we discussed earlier. If a task requires our attention and we delay it out of a desire to avoid discomfort, that is not Wu Wei, that is avoidance. Wu Wei would instead invite us to approach the task with a clear mind, to break it down into manageable steps, and to engage with it with a spirit of non-striving, doing what needs to be done without internal resistance, transforming it into a sacred pause. The path of Wu Wei is a dynamic balance. It teaches us to release our need for rigid control, to trust in the natural flow, and to act with effortless grace. But it also acknowledges that life presents us with moments that demand our full, conscious engagement, our decisive effort, and our unwavering commitment. The challenge and the beauty lies in cultivating the wisdom to know when to yield and when to act, when to allow and when to intervene, fostering a seamless integration of our inner and outer worlds. Ultimately, recognizing the limits of Wu Wei means understanding that it is a principle of skillful action, not no action. It is a guide to living with greater harmony, effectiveness, and inner freedom. But it does not absolve us of our responsibilities or our need to engage with the world in a meaningful way. It empowers us to act from a place of clarity and wisdom, ensuring that our efforts are always aligned with the highest good, contributing positively to our karma and our overall well-being. This crucial understanding of when action is necessary, even within the framework of effortless action, provides a vital balance to our exploration of Wu Wei. It ensures that our approach is grounded in practicality and responsibility. With this discernment in mind, we are now ready to witness a story that beautifully illustrates this balance, showing how foundational effort lays the groundwork for subsequent flow and grace, bringing the abstract idea of necessary action to a tangible, sensory experience, the architect's foundation. In a bustling metropolis, where skyscrapers pierce the clouds and new structures constantly reshape the horizon, Lena was an architect renowned for her buildings that seemed to rise effortlessly from the earth, blending seamlessly with their surroundings. Her designs possessed a quality of spaciousness and natural flow, yet behind this apparent grace lay months, sometimes years, of meticulous, demanding work. In her early career, Lena had often been impatient, eager to see the aesthetic form take shape, sometimes overlooking the painstaking foundational efforts, leading to structural weaknesses and a profound sense of suffering when her creations faltered. Lena remembered the early days of her practice, filled with the vibrant energy of creative vision, but also with the frustration of engineering constraints. She would sketch beautiful facades and elegant curves, but sometimes rushed the less glamorous, more arduous work of soil analysis, stress calculations, and deep pilings. Her mind, captivated by the final aesthetic, would often resist the meticulous detail required for the subterranean groundwork, a subtle form of trishna, or craving for immediate gratification. This often led to costly redesigns and a pervasive anxiety about the long-term stability of her projects, preventing her from experiencing true inner peace. Her mentor, a stoic structural engineer named Master Chen, had once taken her to a construction site where a massive building was just beginning. Below ground, an army of workers toiled in the dirt, pouring concrete, tying rebar, their efforts unseen by the casual passerby. Chen pointed to the deep trenches. "Lena," he had said, his voice gravelly, "the beauty you dream of will only stand if its roots are unshakable. This is where true, effortless action begins, by doing the necessary work with full presence, even when it is unseen." He emphasized that the subsequent grace of the structure depended entirely on the integrity of this foundational effort. Chen explained that Wu Wei in architecture was not about avoiding hard work, but about performing each stage of the work with the right quality of attention and effort. The foundation demands precise, deliberate effort, he taught, unwavering attention to detail, and absolute commitment. This is not where you flow in the sense of letting go of effort. This is where you flow by being completely present with the effort itself, ensuring its impeccable execution. This was a profound shift for Lena, who had previously associated flow only with the creative, less strenuous aspects of design, an embodiment of concentration, samadhi. Lena began to embrace this holistic approach. She still reveled in the creative design, but she now brought the same meticulous focus and unwavering commitment to the foundational planning. She spent hours poring over geological surveys, collaborating closely with engineers, ensuring every calculation was precise, every material specification robust. She learned to find a profound stillness within the demanding technical work, transforming it from a chore into an essential, meditative practice, a form of conscious breathing that extended to her entire team. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, a transformation began in Lena's projects. Her buildings, already admired for their beauty, now possessed an extraordinary resilience and longevity. The construction process became smoother, with fewer unforeseen issues, because the groundwork was so thoroughly and diligently laid. She discovered that by investing precise, intentional effort in the foundational stages, the subsequent phases of construction and the final aesthetic form seemed to unfold with an unexpected ease and grace, a true expression of effortless action. This was not about striving against the material or the physics, but about working in profound harmony with them. Lena realized that the effortless grace of her finished buildings was not an absence of effort, but a testament to the right kind of effort applied at the right time. The initial, often unseen, foundational work was the crucible where Wu Wei was forged, acting with such complete presence and skill that the subsequent structure could stand with an apparent ease, embodying the principle of Wu Wei. The architect's foundation beautifully illustrates the balance between foundational effort and the subsequent flow, and when direct action is indispensable. Lena learned that while the finished structure would later stand with effortless grace, its initial construction demanded precise, deliberate effort and unwavering attention to detail. This understanding highlights that Wu Wei is about the quality of action, not the absence of it, leading to a deeper sense of sufficiency and inner freedom, fostering a profound inner peace. Lena's journey underscores that Wu Wei is not a universal excuse for inaction, but rather a sophisticated guide for discerning when to apply focused effort and when to allow natural processes to unfold. Her exquisite buildings, rooted in impeccable foundations, stand as a testament to this dynamic balance. This final story brings our exploration of Wu Wei to a full circle, reminding us that true wisdom lies in knowing when to act with intention and when to surrender to the flow, leading us now to a gentle conclusion and a preparation for restful sleep. Conclusion. As our journey through the profound wisdom of Wu Wei gently draws to a close, let us now reground ourselves, bringing our awareness back to the quiet sanctuary of your own being, here and now. Feel the gentle weight of your body, the soft texture of your bed, the subtle rhythm of your breath as it flows in and out, a constant anchor in the present moment. There is nothing more you need to do, nowhere else you need to be. You are here, in this quiet space, and that, in itself, is profoundly sufficient. Allow this simple truth to settle deep within you, like a calm pool reflecting the evening sky. The insights we have explored tonight, from the effortless action of the weaver to the patient timing of the shipwright and the foundational wisdom of the architect, are not meant to be burdens or new rules to follow. Rather, they are gentle invitations, whispers of an ancient wisdom that reminds us of our inherent capacity for grace, ease, and inner freedom. You already carry within you the seeds of Wu Wei, the natural inclination towards harmony and non-striving. Tonight, we have merely tended to those seeds, watering them with stories and reflections, allowing them to gently awaken within your own heart and mind. As you prepare to surrender to the embrace of deep sleep, release any lingering thoughts, any remaining tension from the day. There is no need to hold on, no need to control. Allow your mind to become spacious like the empty sky, and your body to soften like the yielding clay. Trust in the natural flow of rest, the inherent wisdom of your body to restore itself. This is your time for profound stillness, for replenishment, for allowing the gentle current of sleep to carry you to a place of deep peace and restoration. Remember that this space, these words, are always here for you, If you ever find yourself needing a moment of calm, a gentle reminder of the effortless path, or simply a tranquil companion for your journey inward, you are always welcome to return. Just as the tide reliably returns to the shore, so too can you reliably find this port of peace whenever your heart calls for it. You are a being of immense wisdom and inherent worth, and the simple act of allowing yourself to rest, to rejuvenate, is a profound act of self-compassion and self-knowledge, a beautiful expression of your original nature. Allow yourself to drift now, to sink deeper into the comfort of your bed, feeling supported and secure. Let the gentle rhythm of your breath be your guide, leading you further into relaxation, into the quiet depths of your own being. There is nothing to achieve, nothing to strive for, only to be. This moment, this breath, this precious opportunity for rest is a gift. Embrace it fully, with gratitude, and allow yourself to simply be. May your sleep be deep and restorative, a sanctuary of peace where your mind finds quiet and your body finds profound rest. May you awaken feeling refreshed, renewed, and reconnected to the effortless flow of life, carrying the gentle wisdom of Wu Wei into your waking hours. Good night. If these words have resonated with you, consider subscribing to keep this sanctuary of peace readily accessible.